always only been like a day off on my phone.
All right, so let's start up TechMaker again. Oh, don't want to search, I want to click on it. TechMaker, it's this one right here. All right, so we've got a blank document. Let's remind ourselves how to start from blank so that we're not just constantly copying and pasting old documents into new documents. So we got a nice wizard up here that we can use. I'm going to do the quick start. I believe that, yes, so the options that I changed previously are now set. So the options apparently are sticky. So I'm going to do an article. I don't need any of these other options right now. I'm going to do 10-point letter paper, not A4, so that we can print it out on our printers. Put the author in here and a title. Let's see, I've got the AMS package and the graphics package. Those ones I'm for sure going to want. I click OK, and I get a nice sort of skeleton of a document. Then I'm going to need to save the document so that I can compile it. So I'll click Save here, and I need to pick a place to save it. And as I suggested the last time, you should create a new directory for all of your documents. There's several files that get created by LaTeX. We don't want these colliding with each other. So I'm going to go back up into my documents directory, do create folder, and do a second documents. Very descriptive, whatever you want to name it. Oh, please type in a file name. Let me redo that. Save, go up, second documents. Hit enter. Okay, there we go. I need to put in a name here with no extension. The extension is going to be added automatically. And if I put a period in the file name, it's going to cause LaTeX problems. LaTeX does not like periods in the file name. All right, click save. Now I should be able to do the quick build. So let's do a test here, make sure it works. There we go. All right, so let me see if I just got a couple more things that I want to show you, and then I'm going to let you just take a cut at it. So a couple of things that we might want to do while we're writing papers would be to create tables, like if we had tables of data that we needed to create, and to create figures. So if we wanted to add a graph. So this is how you create a table. It looks worse than it is. Basically, there's two parts to creating a table. One is getting the table formatted so that it is aligned, right? So that you've got columns and rows that are aligned. And that is the tabular, every time. That's the tabular environment. So the tabular environment will create output that is formatted in rows and columns, where the columns can be either left aligned, center aligned, right aligned. And then you need to wrap all of that in an actual table environment. And the table is the thing that puts a label on the table. So it'll say table 1. You can put a caption on the table. You can put a reference or a label in there so that you can reference that later. So let's create a simple table. All right, this is a table of, let's see here. Oh yeah, this is the list of cars that I drove in high school. So I had 70s were treated me real good. Right? I had a 78 Suburban, a 73 Monte Carlo, a 77 Silverado, and then I got my Camaro. That was, the Silverado was a 454, so that was like stop halfway into town to fill up with gas type of thing. Glug, 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 glug. All right, let's create some sections here. So remember that there's a section command. So section introduction. And then I'm going to do section methods. And I want to add a table. Bless you. So let's do, first, let's just do the tabular environment and see what it looks like. So I need to do begin tabular. I'm going to let TechMaker autocomplete that for me. So the tabular environment itself takes an argument, and the argument is to specify how you want the columns to be aligned. So one, you need to know how many columns is your table going to have, and two, how do you want those columns aligned? Let's do right alignment for the first column, center alignment for the middle column, and left alignment for the third column. So we're going to have 3 columns in this table. Now, each row of your table is not on a separate line. You can put you can basically put a single row on multiple lines. The thing that separates the rows are backslashes. 2 backslashes indicates end of line. So anything before that is going to be on row 1. And then the way that I separate columns is with ampersands. So I use an ampersand to indicate that this column is the first column, second column, third column. All of the alignment then is handled for me directly. Yeah.
So do we need to start with a begin table like you do in the example, or can we just start with the tabular?
Oh, let's just start with tabular.
Okay.
I just want to show what the difference. This is in this example on the page, this is a full example that you could write out and show that it works. Right now, I'm gonna look at what the difference between using just tabular and using a table environment around that tabular is. All right, so we need, typically we would want like a header, like something to put column titles on. So let's do call 1, ampersand, call 2, ampersand, call 3. And then 2 backslashes. Are these backslashes or forward slashes?
Forward.
Forward?
If
Okay.
they go forward,
Okay.
back.
So you go from the top down. That's how you
Yeah.
determine the direction. All right. Top down, forward slash. And do a quick build and see if it works. And I got secton. Secton is not correct. There we go. You have an illegal character? What's that? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, also would have had a lot to say about the illegal character.
I told him that we missed him the other day. He thought that was real nice, you guys.
Don't lie to him. That's how you lie.
That's what I told him.
Oh, you said that you told him that none of us miss him.
I didn't. I said
You
that. I
literally
told him
said-
the other day that we miss him.
Oh, I misheard you then.
Okay,
Sorry about
that makes sense.
Not you, dude. Come on.
All right, let's get this figured out, Dor. This is the hardest part about starting the late thing.
Missing dollar sign. Insert text.
Or wherever. Is that ampersand? Is it dollar sign? It should be an ampersand. Oh, so it was opened up math mode, and then there wasn't another one for it to close.
So it's just me, I can't tell the difference. Yeah, that works.
Got it?
Yeah.
All right. So sometimes you'd want a column, or you want a header on your table, and then put a horizontal line, and then put your rows. So if we want to put a horizontal line in here, it's H line. And let's see here. Let me fill this up with some numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ampersand. 5, 6, 7, 8. Ampersand. 9, 10, 11. See what that does. There we go. It's a little bit hard to see. Let me do some more numbers here. But you can see that the alignment here is that the left column is all right aligned. So everything shifted to the right. Middle column is centered, and then the right column is left aligned. So these characters up here determine what the alignment is and how many columns you're going to have. So if I want to do a new row, I have to end it with a couple of forward slashes. And then, like, I don't have to fill out every column. Let's say, just say that I want this one to be single column in a row. Start a new row. So all of the alignment there is handled by LaTeX. That means if you have data, all you got to do is get that data in there. You don't have to worry about the alignment. I mean, you tell it you want it to be right, centered, or left, and then it figures out how to do all of that. Now, this by itself is not like a table that you would turn in a lab report. You need caption on it, right? Otherwise, you're going to get dinged points for not having a caption. So to put a caption on this, we actually, I mean, all we've done so far is created an output or created an object that is formatted in a sort of tabular style. Now we want to turn that into a table. We wrap that in the table environment. So I'm going to do begin table now. And I've got this end table that was auto-completed that I need to put down here. And I've now made it a table. So the table is going to be considered a float object, something that LaTeX can move around in the document, but it's going to put a caption on it. Oh, did you have a question, Corey?
Yeah, so you begin your table before tabular, but
Yep.
end it before tabular.
Oh, that's what's causing the problem. That needs to go down here. So the tabular environment needs to be inside of the table environment.
Yeah, move the table outside of the text.
That's right. So floats, meaning like floating objects, are things that can be moved around in the document, moved through the text. So figures are floating objects, tables are floating objects. If you've got a really small paper, you're sometimes going to be, you're not going to like where LaTeX is placing that floating object. Just don't worry about it. It doesn't matter for anything that you're going to turn in where it places it. You know, anytime that it would matter, your paper is going to be big enough that it actually is going to put it right close to where the table was created. There are some options for specifying where to put the table. Like if you always want it at the bottom of the page, bless you, or you always want it at the top of the page, you can do stuff like that. But really, they're details that typically don't. Like this looks funny because it's the table is the first thing in the paper. Well, if I got a 2-page paper, this is not going to be where the table gets placed anymore.
So is this why that so many like paper, like scientific papers you read will have tables just put in awful places compared to where the text?
That is all based on the publisher. The publisher does that. So like you send it into a journal, they have somebody that does all of their formatting for them, and they decide where to put those tables.
Because I've literally read papers where like it'll be discussing a table, and the table will be like 3 pages later.
Yeah, that's common. Yes, you don't know what the table is for. What's that?
They won't even have a table in there, but they'll still reference it.
Say table 1 with no table in there.
Yeah, those are my favorite.
All right, so let's put a caption on here. Captions are part of the table environment, so it needs to be outside of tabular. And I'm going to do caption, and then it takes an argument. Oh, not capped. Caption takes an argument, and then this is the text that goes into the caption.
I wish we would just put the forward slashes every time I hit a new line.
Probably write a script.
That's right. It's actually nice because you can put, if you have big long expressions, you can put each one on their own line, and it doesn't automatically start a new row in the table. So when I add a caption, what does it do? It puts this caption down here, and then it labels my table, table 1. If I made another table, it would be labeled table 2. So the labeling for what's table 1 and table 2 is handled automatically. Just like with equations, we could reference, like let's say we want to reference this table that actually does exist in the paper. we don't need to type out table 1. If we put another table in and the table number changed, we would not want to have to go through and relabel all of our table 1 references. So to get a reference to the table that we can access, we need to put a label in here, and the label needs to go into the caption environment or the caption command. It will work without going into the caption command, but sometimes the numbering will get messed up if you don't put it in here. So you really want to put this label in the caption command. For tables, I use tab : so I'm just going to put a label in there that is example. Now I can come outside of the table, still inside of the document, and then reference the table saying see table ref, and then it auto completes for me. So this is tab example here. And when I run quick build the first time, we see the same issue that happened with equations. The first time I run it, I get 2 question marks. Question marks basically means there's a placeholder for a reference that's going to be done. LaTeX doesn't know what the reference to that table is until after it's run once. So either I've made the label wrong, like I typed in the label incorrectly, or I need to run it again so that it can fill in that number. So LaTeX has to take multiple passes when we're using references so that it can first figure out what the number on all the tables are. Right? If we had multiple tables, it would have to figure out which one was number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then it has to go back through and figure out what the references can be replaced with, right after it figures out what the number is.
Seems a little inefficient.
You can take that up with Donald.
Well, I mean, clearly it's doing a check in the second one to see if like anything changed and then running. And so I don't know why I wouldn't just label everything and then go back and redo the reference.
Because you can script that. There's tools that do that for you. All right, so that's how you make a table.
Well, when you don't want to type correctly, it's actually more efficient than talking.
Yeah, it's like a pre-compile step. It's like the preprocessor runs, then it compiles it. All right, figures are very similar to tables. There's a figure environment. There is no way for me to get this backslash in here without putting 2 of them. So this should only be 1 // sorry. So figures like tables have a figure environment and then the things that actually go into the figure. And this is what you're almost always going to do. Begin figure, end figure. You do a caption just like you did with a table. You put a label in the caption just like you did with the table. And then the way that you get the image that's going to make the figure into it is you use an include graphics command. Include graphics takes some optional arguments. If you don't have any optional arguments to give it, you can leave out these brackets. But you do need to have an image in the current working directory, meaning the directory that your LaTeX file is in order to actually include that. This include graphics command is in the graphic-x package. So if you don't have graphic-x imported at the beginning, then this include graphics command is going to fail. Let's see here. Let's find an image to download.
Pulling from the school website.
This is as good as any.
Oh, I already have that one.
Save image as.
There's something slightly about that.
Yes.
Already got that one.
Joey's like, oh, that's in my collection. Not Joey. Terry.
I bet the Joey has it too.
I got that one in every book.
All right, so I need to save this in the document where my LaTeX file, in the folder where my LaTeX document is. So I'm going to go into Documents, second document, and then I'm going to name this something that doesn't have parentheses in it.
So you have to put it in the folder that
It needs to be in the tech folder, yeah, in the folder where your tech file is. Yep. Otherwise, I mean, you can give relative path names, but it's much simpler if we just do it this way. All right, so figures. Let me create a figure. I'm going to create a subsection called figures. I'm going to begin the figure environment. Include graphics. I'm not planning on it. Scale, let's say 1. You could increase or decrease the size of the picture after it's brought in if you needed to. So that would be setting the scale. And let's see, it was self.jpg. I believe that JPEGs and PNGs are going to be the only ones, and maybe PDFs are going to be the only ones that we can import with this. We're using PDF LaTeX, I assume. We'll find out. Oh man, look at that. Right under the table. And then if I want it to have like a label on it, then I need to put the caption in here. If I don't want a caption, I just want it to be labeled like figure 1. I just leave the caption empty. So now it says figure 1. Put a label.
So do we save it inside of the directory that we're working in, or just in? Yeah, we save it in the directory that we're working in, like with this, correct?
Yes, wherever you saved your LaTeX, your tech file, that's where you want to save that image. Yep.
Is this why on all of your homeworks, all of the figures are on separate pages?
Yep, because I just don't worry about where it puts them.
Gotcha. That explains a lot.
Oh yeah, all of my homework is created with I think I told you this last time, created with a Python script that writes LaTeX that then compiles into the PDF.
And he hasn't updated any of it, even though we keep pointing out the errors.
Well, then I wouldn't get to have these fun conversations. That's the personal touch right there.
On that homework, was one of them a two-part question?
Which one?
For
Oh, for this homework?
Yeah.
I don't know. See figure ref. Okay. And that one I didn't have to run twice because I'd already run it before with the caption. So it already had the figure number for that figure that was there. And then when I reference that figure, it puts it right into my document. What's that? Yeah, it's just whatever comes out. It's free form. I could spell it like a lot of people pronounce it. Put a picture in there. Yeah. All right, so we got equations, so math mode with the ability to label equations, tables with the ability to label tables, figures with the ability to label them. That's pretty much everything that you're going to need to do in a lab report. The only other thing you'd need to do later on would be to cite references, which we'll do later. Has anybody tried, like, is anybody writing their lab reports in Word and then using words to label their equations or to number their equations correctly?
Oh, I just manually did that.
Manually do that?
Yeah, just do it manually.
Do you have to create a table and put the equation number off to the right?
No, I just put space a few times.
Okay.
Oh, I do one parenthesis space equation, and then next line, 2 parenthesis space equation.
So you put the equation number, and you do that manually.
So what is this picture of?
That is San Antonio. That's like when I was working down there in the lab.
Okay. Well, I mean, if you go and just type
Didn't
in
you
CD
read-
Clark, it's literally the first thing that comes up, second thing that comes up.
That's on a poster that has like a little bio there. So if you read it, it tells you exactly where it is.
It's from the physics testimonials.
Yeah.
I'm currently working for Northrop
Northrop Grumman.
Grumman in San Antonio.
Joey knows Northrop Grumman.
You're a research assistant in 2004.
Dude, okay, we don't need to learn about that.
All right. Recreate this example.
A lot of typing. Alright, bet.
Man, I'll get like maybe a third of that done
Where's the data for that graph?
by the end of the day today.
You can recreate that. There was no data. This is just plotting two functions. Yeah.
Time for class yet?
Oh, what time is it?
Time for class in 16 minutes.
I have a test instead of cool.
Yeah, can we study for that test?
You can do whatever you want. So this is typically the correct way to label your equations. And the way that Jack does this in Word is you have to, like, for every equation, you have to create a table. You have to put the equation in the center column, and then you have to put the label in the right column and right justify it. And then there is cross-referencing support so that you could have the number automatically created by Word, but it's not nearly as
You could
slick as this.
Literally just justify it and then just put, tabs in between until it moves the equation number.
This equation should be centered.
Get it roughly centered.
Yeah, you can get it roughly centered. It should be centered.
How do you compile it in the terminal?
You just run the LaTeX command on it.
Okay.
Or in this case, it's probably running PDF LaTeX. So PDF LaTeX, name of your tech file.
Just save that as a PDF, open it, and make that. There, I recreated
do-
it.
Oh, no, you actually get the entire slide. You get an example of stuff.
Yeah, that's actually a picture. That slide is. Let's do LaTeX math symbols. So sometimes you want a reference to figure out how to create these different symbols. There's websites all over the place, some PDFs that just have pages and pages of symbols that you might want. And then, like, here's how you put in the summation, sigma, ends.
Big at times.
Capital I is my favorite.
There's a difference between capital and
Here's your trig functions, all that stuff.
You're just gonna look at me. Well, he took his off. There we go. Sorry.
Because we're supposed to do a